are watching this on replay, thank you so much for joining this unfiltered live chat with Dr. Wallace J. Nichols. My name is Weldon Wade, and it's my privilege and honor to be bringing this to you in your home, or if you're at work or in the car. Around here, we just want to be surrounded by as much blue as possible. I got my blue walls. Jay's got his blue walls. So out here, guys, we want you to live unfiltered, change your life, and become a diver. Now, I'm born and based on the island of Bermuda, which is the gem of the Atlantic, sort of right in the middle of nowhere, right off the east coast of the United States. And how lucky are we around here, right? The beach is never more than a mile away, and we've got beautiful pink sand. The diving, certainly in Bermuda, whether you're scuba diving, snorkeling, or free diving, is phenomenal. And what we want to talk about today, and I'd love for you to introduce yourself, Jay, is how the water is so much more than just this empty mass of blue that surrounds all of us. It makes up the majority of our planet. It's a I love your book, Dr. Wallace. And without further ado, please introduce yourself. Tell us more about you, where you're from, and what led you to authoring this book.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here with you, and I feel your blue mind just kind of radiating out into the world through everybody's screens. And I'm a marine biologist by training, mostly because at a young age I fell in love with the water and tried to figure out how to align my life and my career with that feeling. I've studied sea turtles and climate change and plastic pollution and marine protected areas. And all through that process, through my education and research and conservation work, and also a scuba diver, I noticed that people felt better when they were going to the water or in the water or coming back from the water, whether they were diving, swimming, surfing, or just sitting and looking at it. And as a scientist, I got curious about that, and I wondered, well, maybe there's a book about our brain on ocean, our brain on water, like other books about your brain on music and your brain on happiness and all these other themes. And I went looking for that book so I could read it and apply it professionally to my work. And I didn't find the book. It didn't exist. It hadn't been written yet.
Okay.
So I tried to convince some other people that they should write it. And I failed at that. And so I ended up writing this book myself that I wanted to read. And it's called Blue Mind. And it basically describes you. That's what it does. Describes the way you feel. If you love the water, it will help you understand yourself and help you explain yourself, maybe to your friends and family. But it's actually a really useful concept in terms of really properly valuing a healthy ocean, because we often focus on the economic and the ecological benefits, which are enormous and important, but we forget the emotional wellness benefits. And when
Yep.
we leave that out, we undervalue the ocean. So that's the quick summary of who I am and what we're talking about today.
Nice. Thank you so much for that intro. I've done a bit of reading. I managed to grab your ebook, and shout out to my friend Akila Beckles, who I met up with last week, who actually in Bermuda had a physical copy, which was amazing how it all kind of came together. So ultimately, your book, The Blue Mind, is really a deep dive into the science behind the healing power of water. And I love how you're taking a different take on it. We again looked at the economic benefits of the ocean, the ecological benefits, but not that emotional connection that I think, whether we admit it or not, as divers, as we're encouraging more people to get into the ocean and put their eyes underwater, regardless of the discipline. It tends to always be this experience that is unpredictable, but it's also very serene. And Dr. J, I just want to say that for the most part, it almost seems like a lot of divers were leaning into diving for a bit of escapism, to like get away from the sort of hustle and bustle of life. But for me, I don't look at it as escaping anything in particular. It's just enjoying this almost euphoric feeling of the water surrounding your body, and certainly passive recreation, just looking at the ocean, hearing the sound of the water. It's all the sum of all these little parts that really make the water a phenomenal experience. And I know A lot of people watching or listening to us, most, I'm certainly, I would assume, have a love for the ocean, but there are some that also have an innate fear of the ocean, just afraid of either putting themselves in the water, whether it's, sea monsters or the Bermuda Triangle, or just an innate fear. So, how do we help to encourage those listening to take that leap of faith and allow the ocean to do their thing and heal?
Yeah, I think, as you know, when you're teaching someone to scuba dive, the best place to meet them is where they are.
Yep.
In terms of their fear, their skill, their passion, their interest. Maybe they've never put their face underwater in their entire life, so that's going to be very different than someone who says, "I'm an avid snorkeler. I've been a lifelong swimmer. Teach me how to scuba dive." That individual is going to be coming from a different place. So not everybody's going to become a scuba diver. I think maybe that is the goal. 8 billion scuba divers, but the reality is not everybody's going to take up that particular activity. Um, so finding how can each of us engage with water in our lives wherever we are. If you're not near the ocean, it's okay. There are lakes and there are rivers and there are creeks and there are ponds and there are pools, and then you've got maybe a bathtub in your house.
Sure.
So wherever you are, try to practice blue mind daily. And if you're lucky enough to go scuba diving where you live, do that. Maybe if you surf or swim, do that. But even a walk on the beach or a walk along a river or going out and stopping on a bridge and just hanging out for a little while and letting your mind rest, looking at the water, appreciating the day, letting the red mind slip away. Because if you hold on to all the red mind all the time, which is what the epitome of modern society, you will end up in gray mind, which is no good. Gray mind is burnout. So red mind is kind of our normal, anxious, striving, thriving, competing, sometimes overwhelmed. It's part of the normal life. A lot of screens, a lot of information, a lot of noise. Um, we want to toggle back and forth between red mind and blue mind. And you describe diving and it being serene and kind of escapism. Well, it is kind of a bit of an escape from the hustle and the bustle and the noise on land. You don't leave everything behind because there's hustle and bustle underwater too. There's stuff to do. There's lots of creatures under there that you want to learn about and see and spend some time with. And if you're a professional diver, there's a lot of work to do underwater too. So you're not leaving it all behind, but it's a shift. And that shift of mind state is what we refer to as blue mind. So really our goal is to make every single person aware of their blue mind state and uh, allow them to practice it in whatever way they can, wherever they are. And if we can get 8 billion people on board to that, we'll have some scuba divers joining the team along the way, I'm sure. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. I want to shout out to everyone in the comments. I see quite a few people from Denmark and France, uh, India. Wow, that's amazing, you guys. Listen, Dr. J, can you share with us like your first memory of the water or of the ocean? And I'm delighted to share with the audience my first memory. But you go first.
Yeah. My first memory is probably captured in a photograph. I was in the Bahamas, not far from where you are, uh, compared to where I live in California, um, with my dad. And I have this photograph of my dad and I in the water. And I was very young, but I can tell that it was a formative moment. And I don't have a clear memory of that day, but the photograph kind of carried that forward, and I have a fondness for um, whatever was going on there. Uh, and I think it's important also to remind people that that water connection is also about the human connection that water creates. When we spend time near, in, on, or underwater with the people we love, it brings us closer together. It creates those memories that you can never forget, even after those loved ones are gone. The swimming together, learning to swim or learning to dive. Those are the people you'll never forget, the ones that taught you these lifelong skills. So when I think of my first water memory, I always think of my dad. Yeah. How about
Wow.
you?
Well, the irony is, my first living memory is being on the beach with my dad. And around here, a bit of rite of passage is to for your kids to learn how to swim. Is you just get tossed into the ocean. There, you just take it to the water and throw you in. So that's my first living memory. And I must admit, Jay, the memory I have is like feeling the life force slowly slipping out of my body. But it turned into certainly a drive to want to better understand the ocean and all the inhabitants underneath, as well as ultimately fall in love with the ocean and try to protect it as best I can, and encourage people on the island of Bermuda and certainly around the world to better understand the ocean. We're still learning so much from the ocean, but like you said, recognizing that human health and ocean health have this intimate connection. And certainly around here and around there, no matter where you are in the world, and our viewership, shout out to Matt. I see you, brother. We've got Italy and Mauritius, Saudi Arabia, Aussie, and the and the UK here. Thank you so much for tuning in live, you guys. But yeah, I want to see a healthy ocean, and really do as everything I can to protect it. But beyond that, it's breaking down the fears of why or why not people don't decide to swim. I know we're one of the three corners of the Bermuda Triangle, so there's a lot of myth, wonder, and fear that comes with that. Whether there's sea monsters that's going to grab us. And Jay, you visit, or anyone listening visits, just tell the monsters Weldon sent you, and you'll get a pass. Everyone knows everyone, and even the monsters. But certainly, Patty, being the largest diving agency on the planet, have diving shops everywhere, and there are instructors that are keen to teach you how to dive if you haven't taken that leap. uh, I just want more divers to keep diving. I'm sure, Jay, we know people that fell in love with it and then maybe got out of the sport. But visit your local dive shop, live unfiltered, and do a refresher, do your DSD. I remember my first dive, which was phenomenal, and I only wish I had done it sooner. So I just hope that the viewership decides to take that leap of faith, go to the shop, learn how to dive, or just like you said, Jay, just have a walk by the water, close your eyes, listen, take a deep breath, and realize we're more connected to the ocean than we may think, no matter how near or far it may be.
That's right. And when you learn to dive, or get a refresher, bring somebody you love with you. Bring somebody who really needs it, who maybe never thought about it. Bring them with you, and that will grow the blue movement. That will help them be, a lifelong diver. And it's that plus one that grows the sport, and it grows the ocean movement. The people who get their heads underwater fall in love with the water, and then they want to protect what they love, as the late great Jacques Cousteau said.
Yep.
Um, so I think you're exactly right. And I think when people realize that a healthy ocean helps us be healthy mentally and physically and socially, then we want to protect the ocean's health even more. Not only for economic reasons and ecological reasons, but for deeply personal, emotional, and social reasons. And again, it builds. It's a very positive feedback loop.
It
When
is.
when you make those connections.
It is for sure, for sure. What I want you to do, Jay, is let people know how they can hear more about your book.
Yeah, if you just Google the phrase "blue mind," put the two words "blue mind" together in quotes, and do a quick search, and you'll find a lot of stuff. You'll find the book, you will find videos, articles. If you're into surfing, add that word in. Of course, if you're into diving or free diving, add that in. Any topic that you're interested, you will find the connection to Blue Mind. And if you're a lake person or a river person, there's lots of information out there. So I'm not going to send you to a specific website. There are lots of places that sell books. Just go to the Google and type in the phrase "blue mind," and apologies in advance. You might lose a few hours of your time just exploring the different concepts and research.
For sure. Dr. J, I'm taking a quick glance over here at the comments. I do see a couple ones. It's a busy space. Shout out to our viewership in Florida, Panama, the Philippines. Um, but I do see a question. I'm not sure if Rachel can pop it up, but it's from Jennifer Grosso. She says, I became a scuba diver this year. It changed my life. Now, there we go. Now, moving forward to becoming a professional diver, I want to be in the ocean all the time. You know, I don't know very few people that were bitten by this bug of diving and walked away. Like once you get bit, it's really really hard to shake. And around here, um, part of a lot of the work that I'm doing revolves around the blue mind and the blue mind concept. And it's just put on a mask and snorkel, find a beach nearby, and put your eyes on the water. Most of the diving I do is in relatively shallow water, like 3 to 5 feet. And it's, you don't have to go deep. You don't have to go anywhere particularly dangerous to experience what it's like to be in the water. And once you look around, you're like, wow, this is really, really gorgeous. But then you also quickly recognize threats. Around here, we have an invasive species problem. There's a plastic pollution problem. So there's always something to want to work at. You can sightsee underwater, or you can actually take action and try to mitigate threats that you can from the ocean as well, and spread the word. I love the concept of bringing +1 to the dive shop or to the beach and embracing that. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Love your comment.
Yeah, and Jennifer, it's addictive in the best possible way. The great thing about being addicted to mind and having it be a habit is there's no side effects and you can't overdo it. You can just dive for your whole life as much as you want and you'll get healthier and healthier. So it's the best kind of addiction, really.
I agree. Goodness, the amount of resources that I've spent to further, my diving and exploratory stuff. It's a bit boggling, but I embrace all forms of diving. Certainly, Patty have embraced all forms of diving, even mermaiding, which I think is super phenomenal. But yeah, I would just encourage the viewership to find the Blue Mind a book online. I have my copy in Kindle format, and yep, find it online, read it, and get in the water. That would be my final recommendation to you. And if you're in Bermuda, I'm very easy to find. If you're keen to come to Bermuda, hit me up and I'll help you with that experience. But find the nearest body of water to you and jump in. Join us,
That's
please.
get wet for sure. Yeah.
Join us and get wet. Shout out to the viewership from Honolulu. Hold on. Let me just have a look at the comments. Barbara Matisse. Oh, they're coming in hot, doctor. Hold on. Miss Bissette, I became a diver to raise awareness in the photos and videos I take. Thank you. To show persons what we are protecting. I have also become an instructor to help certify persons to be able to always see it themselves. Thank you so much, Maureen. That's a dope name. Let us know where you're from, Maureen, if you don't mind. Where are you joining us from?
And she makes a good point that photographs, film, paintings, songs, written word, poetry, that's all virtual water, virtual ocean. It's a way of depicting the ocean when it's not right in front of you. And amazing photography moves people. It shifts them. It gets their attention, shows them what's going on. And all the divers that take photographs and share them are again, building that blue movement. So thank you. Thanks, Marine, for uh, your talents and skills.
That's so cool. I got Monique Davis. Shout out Monique. I'm not sure where you're chiming in from. I wish this would tell me like a location. That would be kind of cool. Hey Magic, I see you. Monique says, I am still kind of afraid of the water, but always in the water. Monique, thank you so much for joining us on the live. Um, I had a fear of the water for a while. It wasn't until I started snorkeling more. So it was really the fear of the unknown led me to doing more, really what I do. And so diving at night, during day, wrecks, reef, shallow, deep, all different disciplines, I would recommend that you push through that fear. It's always good to have a bit of fear. I want to make sure that whatever I do, and certainly Jay would agree, whatever we do on the water, we want to get back home to our families. So safety first. But once all that is sorted, it's a big blue planet that's just waiting to be explored and discovered, I think.
Yeah, one little tip: when before or after any water activity, I like to just simply float. Roll over on your back and just even if it's 30 seconds. Because sometimes we rush in, we want to go do the thing, and then we rush out because we have things to do and manage the gear. Just take that last 30 seconds or so, and even if you're just swimming in a pool before you get out after swimming laps, roll over on your back and just float. Just like really let your mind wander and let your body rest, and let blue mind happen to you, and then go on, back onto the land. And it's a good practice, even in the shower. Take 15 seconds in the shower and just close your eyes and really feel the water banging on the back of your head. And it's just a good practice every time. It's kind of a water prayer in a way, or a water mindfulness activity. Just tell yourself, 30 more seconds just to float calmly.
Stay in the bathtub until your fingers start wrinkling. That just takes me
Yeah.
back to more childhood memories out here. Again, our viewership, Lulu and Rachel Andrews and Dietrich, thank you so much for joining us on the live. Guys, we've been discussing during this unfiltered live chat, scientist and author Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, who has wrote a phenomenal book called The Blue Mind. I would encourage you to find a copy of the book. The best way, whether it's an ebook or physical book, I'd like to have both, and give it a read and dial in. You guys are probably divers since you're tuned into the Patty Unfiltered live stream. But if you aren't, please, I encourage you to find your nearest local dive shop and get in and get wet. Dr. Wallace Nichols, any last words before I let you go? I know you're busy.
Yeah, we were joking before. This is like Weldon and Wallace talking water and wellness, and I think we did a good job. So I really, really appreciate the invitation, and it's a big conversation and one to be continued. And I really admire and appreciate Patty's leadership on taking blue mind science and practice to the diving world, scuba diving and free diving, and the huge reach that Patty has. And humanity is stressed right now, to put it mildly, and we could use all the wellness tools in our toolkit that we can find. And I believe that diving is one of the most powerful wellness tools for your toolkit. So if you're a diver, keep doing it and take somebody with you, and help them fall in love with that feeling too. So really appreciate the invitation and to hang out with you a little bit.
Thanks, Jay. I know we could do this probably for another hour. There's so much I'd love to cover with you. But yeah, Patty, thank you so much for inviting me to host this wonderful interview with Dr. Nichols. Guys, if you've got any questions or queries, pretty straightforward to track me down. Track down the owners and operators of your local dive shop. I encourage you to get back in the water or get started. And look up the Blue Mind online, and you'll be able to find all the resources you need to get in contact with Dr. Nichols. Sir, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
My pleasure. Appreciate you back. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in to Unfiltered Live. We're going